Clap your hands and stomp your feet. You're listening to the Clap Your Hands podcast, hosted by Elliot Shore Parks and Kyle Newbeck. Here they go.
So I do believe more success will come if he does come back, but a lot of fans don't feel that way, and as a result, they want a big trade. And you texted me this while you were at the Super Bowl for you and your wife, as you so joked about
The
on Twitter.
anthropology outlet pop up.
Anthropology outlet. And I would say to that, if you think that's a Super Bowl, you clearly tell me you weren't at the Taylor Swift concert without telling me. That is.
Listen, that's a whole nother camp.
Yeah.
That's like the World Cup, I think.
Yes, exactly. But there is new reporting from about Zach LaVine, and that his name has come up in trade discussions with the Sixers and Chicago Bulls. So I wanted to get your opinion on the reporting. What do you think of the possibility of Zach LaVine? I do think it's somewhat noteworthy. The Sixers have not willingly, like the Paul Reed one, they didn't get to write that contract. They've not willingly handed out money beyond this year. Obviously, Zach LaVine has a massive contract that is well beyond this year. What do you think of the Zach LaVine possibilities? Before you say if you would do it, what do you think of the possibilities and if the Sixers would be interested?
Well, so and Casey Johnson, who's the one who reported this recently, was it Thursday, Friday, something like that. He and I are both on the same wavelength in the sense that these were very preliminary discussions. I know we discussed pre-draft that the Bulls were shopping basically everybody or saying, what could we get for XYZ? And LaVine was different in that they're asking for real stuff for him. This is not like you could get somebody and for taking on Lonzo Ball's contract since his knee is apparently made out of silly putty or something, which is really
doesn't
sad.
Work anymore.
Yeah. LaVine is different because they still place real value on him. And we can argue about the contract and what have you, but they're asking for, multiple picks, maybe a young player. And he does represent in some ways the middle ground option, right? Like you might be able to trade James Harden and then you hold on to Tyrese Maxey and still come up with LaVine. Like you can move some stuff around, and I wouldn't say you're doing like 1-for-1 Harden LaVine. You're probably adding stuff on top of whatever you'd be getting for LaVine, but it's at least closer to that. Mm-hmm. And in that instance, then it's like, all right, that's a real conversation to have because he is talented. And I think when he's in a situation where his co-star isn't DeMar DeRozan, who good player, but not a guy who's like a real championship number one or number two guy that's been proven out over the duration of his career. You put him next to Joel Embiid, you can make the argument, okay, that guy could maybe be number two, or maybe like a 2A, 2B with Maxey, where that's one guy's going on a given night, the other guy's going on another night. They're not the best backcourt fit together, I don't think, for various reasons, but you might be able to talk yourself into it. I just don't think that there have been serious discussions between those teams. They definitely have touched base and names were floated at a certain point prior to the draft, but I'm not aware of much since then. And I don't think it ever got beyond, hey, what do you think of Zach? Or like, what do you think of this guy? Right. It was not, hey, here's the framework for a deal. And no, we don't like that. So I think it's pretty far from any sort of, hey, this is a real trade rumor sort of
thing. You mentioned James Harden. I don't see why the Bulls would have much interest in James Harden. They don't seem like
it'd be a clear multi-team.
Yeah. But my question for you is there a world where you think they can get him without trading James Harden? Like, is Toby, Jaden Springer, plus, like, I don't know, Melton and maybe the 2029 first or whatever it is? Like, do you think if they trade for Zach LaVine, it is going to have to include Harden either being rerouted somewhere and stuff being rerouted to the Bulls, or do the Sixers have enough as constructed to get Zach LaVine?
I'm not really sure, honestly. I think it would depend on, so Chicago's posturing is that they're not moving him unless they're getting real stuff back. Mm-hmm. They do have a notoriously cheap owner who was cheap even when they had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and the great dynasty of our childhood, essentially. So the argument that you could get it done without it being part of the Harden potential package would be they might just want to cut the long-term salary and start rebuilding. Now they did just re-sign Nikola Vucevic, so
right, which is a weird move if you're a sellers.
Yeah, so they would have to kind of pivot from where they're at now for me to believe, oh yeah, they're just going to do a salary dump for picks type trade. I do think the problem really is that the Sixers don't have a lot of movable picks, and the only way you're going to get valuable picks is either trading James or trading Tyrese. I don't think anyone else is probably fetching too much value. Like maybe you could flip Melton for something, but I think that's probably a stretch, and you have to send a big salary out just to bring LaVine back. So it's not like you could just trade Melton for a pick and just add LaVine to the current roster. So I'd say it's unlikely. I wouldn't say it's impossible because it depends on a ownership group in Chicago that has shown they kind of just don't know what they're doing all the time, I would say.
Yes. So one thing I've kind of batted back and forth in my head, whether, walking around, running, whatever, with the Sixers is, and Zach LaVine is attached to this, as is Lillard, probably Lillard, another category. But are they willing to take on big contracts? Because everything they've done has been 1 year, Beverly 1 year, Mo Bamba 1 year. I mean, even last year they gave Montrez that player option. The Paul Reed thing, they didn't get to write that deal. They matched it, so it counts. But James Harden 1 year deal. They're still holding on to Toby. Like, do you think that with LaVine, the contract, or with Lillard to an extent, is a non-starter, or they would acquire it if it was a deal they like? Like, do you think they're willing to take money on beyond this year?
I think it would have to be the right guy for sure. And I'm not sure that Zach LaVine is that guy. Look, I think it's always fluid, right? Where we could say big picture in a broad sense, they don't want to take on lots of long-term money. I think all of us would probably agree on that. Where I think we would stray a little too far is if we say they just won't do that at all. I think it's case by case. What would we have to give up? What player is returning to us? If they could trade basically nothing and get Zach LaVine, I know he's not perfect, but if you're getting him for an expiring contract and Tobias Harris and little else, I think that's something you're at least considering. I think the problem is he's not available for that, right? So I think there are definitely scenarios where, and it doesn't have to be LaVine, it could be someone like Zion or one of these other guys who have been maybe like a Siakam, who he's on an expire. He's going to be a free agent next offseason. So that's a little different. And I don't love the fit there, but if he's available and he's not going to be traded for like a king's ransom type package.
Yeah, Nick Nurse guy too.
Yeah. Well, yes, but also there's some reporting that those two not exactly best.
So not a Nick
at the end of their tenure. Like they won together and had a lot of success together, and he was the guy up there, but not sure that they're suited to continue that relationship. But I don't know that because I don't know Nick enough, and I don't know Pascal enough certainly to say that. The point being, yes, I think they're trying to keep cap space open, but I think they're trying to keep it open because it just gives them more pads. It's not because, hey, they're just only going to wait until next summer. If an opportunity is on the table where a guy's available at a cut rate and it's someone they like and someone they think raises their title odds, then yeah, I think they would absolutely do that.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button right here. You'll get all the videos in a playlist, and make sure you leave a comment in the section below to let us know what you think.
And don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date. All our latest updates, new episodes, new podcasts. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.